Brad, the draft is in under 2 weeks now. The draft is coming up very quick. The flurry of things Portland could do, particularly with the 11th pick. I don't think they're tied down to it at all.
No.
Let's talk about some ways Portland could get creative with that 11th pick. And I think first, maybe the most realistic thing that could happen, and something that I've been a fan of kind of looking at this draft, looking at this team, is potentially trading back in the draft.
Yeah.
There's definitely some opportunities of teams who would want to move up. The first being the Thunder for pick 15 and pick 24. I think that's pretty valid is what they do. And you think about the Thunder, like they have everyone on contract for next season.
Yeah.
There's like basically they still have Nikola Topic, who didn't even play last year.
God,
they have no room for 2 draft picks. So maybe they see someone they like at 11, like a Noah Senge or something. At 15, I think we can still get some guys we like, right? Fleming could still be there at 15.
Dude, honestly, I think there's a chance that everyone we like could still be there.
Yeah.
Like that's what this draft is crazy. I mean, I've seen guys like Igor mocked as high as 6th and as low as like 22nd.
Cedric Coward could be up that high. He could also be down like 15, definitely still available. I think Carter Bryant's up a little bit higher, but I think most of the guys that we really liked in that last video we talked about could be there at 15, and you get another one at 24. The other trade you're kind of looking at of trading back is Brooklyn, who has 4 first-round picks. I mean, you can maybe get 19 and 26.
You know, it's such a good point that you bring that up, because I didn't really think about that, about how obviously the 11th pick is nice, but no one we really want is guaranteed to be gone by like the 16th.
I think if you're a fan of Kasparis and you're a fan of Derek Queen, then I think you really want 11, because there's a decent chance that one of them will be there. If you want them, that's there. But I think for us, there's guys we like that we get at 15, could still even be there at 19, like the case of Fleming.
Yeah.
And then there's some back half guys that I personally really love. A position of need I think the Blazers could really benefit from is a stretch 5.
Yes.
Because I think that would be really good for versatility. Just to, if there's a matchup where going 5 out really benefits the Blazers, I think we could use one of those, because Klingon is definitely not that. I like Maxime Reynaud at that late 20s range.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be cool with that too. I was thinking about that too. I was like, do we need to draft a big?
I think there's good bigs and good handling. Danny Wolf is another one.
Yeah.
Good kind of utilitous bigs in the back half of the draft that, again, if we stepped back there and got a pick in that range, I think we could benefit from just giving some chances as a backup center to Klingon eventually, right?
And it's another reason I love Fleming so much, because he has so much versatility. It's like if he doesn't work out is like what I think is like a absolute starting level 4 or even maybe 3. If his negatives end up being very true, I still think his positives make him like a super viable small ball backup 5.
And he can rim run too. Like he can definitely get out in transition.
It also sort of makes you wonder about if we should just trade Ant for that 16th.
Yeah. Separate from a big, I think like a couple backup wings. I mean, like that's, again, I like Carter, I like Cedric, but if we dipped in the back, like Nick Clifford could take a year to learn behind Matisse and then be maybe more of a
kind of Josh Hart 2.0.
Yeah, like he could slide him back there, learn from that, and then when Matisse's contract expires after next year, he can be ready to go for us after that one. I like him. I kind of like a Du Thiero in that role too.
Oh, I love him, dude.
Yeah,
I can't get enough of him. I think I actually don't even know who I guess I think I said he's the Ryan Dunn of this draft.
Yeah, he's got a lot more offensive potential to him than Ryan Dunn, though.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think he has a lot of potential as like in the fast break, just because he's so relentless. But I actually buy his shot less than I did Ryan Dunn's.
Really? That's interesting.
Which I was like, oh, look at Ryan Dunn's shoot. It doesn't look that bad. Not so sure about Adu, but he may be.
Yeah, but pretty freakishly athletic, sizable wing. I mean,
I love him.
He could kind of just rotate him with Chris Murray, and we take another shot at a player like that, right?
I see him as like a discount Carter Bryant, discount Toumani.
Yeah.
He is so intense.
Yeah.
Wildly athletic.
Yeah.
I love Adu.
So that's one option. Trade back, get more draft picks. I was thinking about this, though, and I watched a good video from Utility Sports. I watch a lot, shout out, who does a lot of draft cap breakdowns, a lot of mock trades, and he kind of got me thinking about how the Blazers have a lot of expiring contracts, which can be really good to move in a lot of ways. And I just got to think about like who would want those, and I really landed on some of the bottom teams in the league. Like contending teams don't want Ayton.
Yeah.
They don't really want Ant that much unless you're Orlando, I guess, really has a need for him. But the thing with Ant is that he's a 1-year rental, and a lot of teams that are competing to win now don't have the space to extend Ant.
I think any team would love to have Ant if the contract worked.
Right, but it
just doesn't.
But you have to kind of have to extend him, and that's even why I'm pretty low on him going to the Magic, because with Paolo's extension kicking in, how much they're paying Jalen Suggs, how much they're paying Franz Wagner, there doesn't seem a lot of room where they can keep Ant past a year. And he like if he plays as well as they want him to, they're not going to keep him. So I kind of was looking these other ways, and I just saw it through the lens that Deni is on this unbelievable contract and is about to round into the beginning of his prime, more or less. Toumani, 25 years old now, is on a $2 million contract this year. And after, I think I saw that, the contracts like this where you're paying a second-round guy and extending him, you can't do more than like 4 years, $90 million. Our two best players on unbelievably good contracts, plus Klingon on his rookie deal.
What's the opposite of handicapped? That's what we are.
Yeah, we're the opposite.
I've never seen a team with its best players be so like, we do not have to worry about that.
We don't have to worry about them contract-wise. They're ready to go.
We might be the only team in the NBA who can say that.
Yeah. I mean, I really, truly believe Deni's contract is going to look 3 years from now just absolutely glorious. He's going to get
It might be the greatest contract in the history of basketball.
$11 million 3 years from now. That's unbelievable.
Oh, my God. Even just hearing that gets me like...
Yeah. It's fired up.
It's awesome. Yeah.
So with all that in mind, like... Yeah, the Blazers, aren't going to compete anytime soon with what we have right now for a championship, right?
Yeah.
But why not push the chips in if we can do it in a way that doesn't jeopardize our long-term future? And
sure.
I think I came up with some ways. And
in
order to do that, we basically need to, because, everyone says it's time to trade Ant. We got to make room for Scoot and Shaden. We could trade all three of them and just get out of this whole mess.
I've sort of been like a weird proponent of that, where it's like if we're in this mess with Ant, Shane, Scoot, where if we're all being honest, even the biggest fans of any of them, they still feel wildly unpredictable.
Yeah.
All three of them. I still have no idea who's going to be good. And no Blazers. I don't even think the Blazers know. It's why they've had such a hard time trading Ant, or that's I think the main reason is because we don't know if we have anything, but we're not convinced if Shaden and Scoot are the guys to take those reins from them. So I've always been like, if you see a deal that guarantees to make us better and gets rid of those three guys, I don't personally mind, which sounds crazy, but
I mean, it's just bad because I hate to say this in a way of like, we're not ready to give up on them. These guys are not untouchable. Like,
agreed.
They're players in the NBA, and I love them, and I want them to do amazing. I'm gonna want them to do amazing if we trade them, more or less. But
I won't. I want them to.
I want them to fail.
No, I'm kidding. But it's like Deni, Toumani, and I guess Klingon are the only untouchable guys.
Yeah, and those
even
are the guys.
Klingon might not be, but Deni and Toumani definitely are.
But those are the guys who are ready to play right now. So if we can put together a good way to capitalize on their contracts, I think it's worth it, and then we'll just kind of play the game down the line. Well, let me tell you, I think I have the right deals.
This is fun because we don't get nuts enough on the show.
I know. So this is the first trade, as you guys are seeing, that I have come up with to fast track the Blazers to competitiveness. All three of these trades could be done on their own, but all three of them together would get rid of Shaden, Anthony, and Scoot and supercharge this team for the win now. If you like any of them or you like all of them, let me know in the comments, because these are kind of my brainchild, and I wrote all of them out in an article that will go up on the site I'm writing for, The Lead. Shout out The Lead right here. Brad, I'll give you the floor. This is the trade I have put together. What are your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, okay, here's the thing. In theory, I do love it. Yeah. I absolutely love it because I am so... I saw this, I literally got an adrenaline rush because I kind of thought you were against my Trey Murphy. Not against it like that you want him on the team, but where you've been like, we're not going to get Trey Murphy. I feel like, and it's always broken my heart because I want him so bad on this team. And I think it's truly possible if we're willing to give up the right guys. And this is a perfect example of what it could possibly look like if we give up the right guys. In my perfect world, it's not Shaden, it's Scoot.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. If I saw Scoots there, if I know you have some, I'm guessing you have some trades for Scoot coming up. I'm assuming. So maybe that will that'll balance it out and I'll understand it more. But here's the thing, dude. This is my question. For fans that are looking at this and saying no way, there's two things I want people to realize. If you're saying no way, you probably don't realize how good Trey Murphy is. Getting Trey Murphy and pairing him with Deni, Toumani, and Klingon would immediately make us, I think, the only team that would be better than us defensively is the Thunder. I think we'd have the second best defense in the NBA. We'd have a guy who already scores more than Shaden does. I know Shaden's potential is as a first option scorer, but I want you guys to ask for my second point. One, you don't, like I said, you don't know how great Trey Murphy is possibly if you don't like this trade. I'm not guaranteeing that, but I'm assuming maybe you don't know how great he is. He's awesome. And two, can you say for certain, especially if you do know how good Trey Murphy is, can you say for certain that you think Shaden's going to be as good as Trey Murphy? Peak Shaden. Because I think Shaden's going to be a really good player. I'm on board Shaden. Is he going to be better than Trey Murphy's going to be? I would argue there's like a 95% chance no. Maybe 90. I'd say 90. I think there's a 90. So it would be a very, very cool trade. I would absolutely love that.
Let me explain why it works for the Pelicans. Okay, so first of all, Trey Murphy, best season of his career last year, right? They gave him the floor. They said, Trey, go do it all. Go run wild. And he did, and he was awesome. Like you
What were his stats last year? What did he put up?
It was like 21, 5, and like 3.5 or 4. It might have been a little more rebounds, but his shooting,
as a top 20 defender in the NBA.
And his shooting percentages dipped. That was kind of the problem. I guess what I'll say is Shaden from an offensive standpoint has I think, like 50% shot to be better than Trey Murphy's, maybe a little bit more. When you count on the defense, it's obviously a different thing. However, you saw the peak of Trey Murphy, right? And in a take over the team role, that was what he looked like. That, more or less, I think is his peak, because he's not going to get more opportunities than he did last year. Let me keep going. The thing with the Pelicans and why I think Shaden is appealing is because whatever you think Shaden's chances of being better or worse than Trey Murphy are, the Pelicans basically need to take a step back. DeJounte Murray is going to be hurt all next year. He's under contract for 3 more years. Zion is in a whole muck of shit. And who knows what the deal is going to be with him legally, not to mention how often he's hurt, right? So they kind of need another year to let him figure himself out, right? So next year is kind of off, and they're bringing in the number 8 pick. They have Yves Missi. Like, they have these Bucks swaps coming up, so they're going to get some good draft picks coming in. They want to take a step back and get younger. To give up 25-year-old Trey Murphy and take back Shaden Sharp, who is projected to get basically the same exact contract, it's taking a step back and then getting a 3-year younger guy whose ceiling could be higher than Trey Murphy's. Maybe not super likely, but you get that, you get a round 1 pick, and you get Robert Williams, who, he has been injured too as well, but like maybe Robert Williams on a team that seems cursed and a player that's cursed, maybe that cancels out and he actually figures himself out. He'd be a great backup center to Yves Missi, right? So at least for a year. So I think these pieces work for them, and it fits their timeline a lot better because they're not going to be good again next year without DeJounte and likely without Zion. It's probably going to be another year like this, and Trey, I think, would be more frustrated. So you get to take an upside on Shaden's ceiling and go and get the benefit that his age. And he might pop right away, right? We kind of think there's a chance.
I see Trey Murphy as like a much better, and he's in a very similar situation that Jeremy was in. I see him as like a much better version and younger version of Jeremy, where it's like he was let loose in New Orleans last year, much like Jeremy was when he was with Detroit. I think it's a really similar career progression where it's like, they start off as defensive first specialty players, show that they could be more than that. Were let loose, put up 21 points a game on slightly worse numbers. And then Jeremy came to Portland, and once he hit that ceiling when he was let loose, he kept playing like that.
Yeah.
That's what I see for Trey Murphy. I don't think he regresses even in a smaller role. I think he puts up the same numbers, 21 points a game, great defense on more efficient numbers. That's what a lot of times happens when you let a guy loose like that. And like I said, we saw that with Jeremy. He came to Portland and basically put in the same numbers he did with Detroit, but on less shots and better efficiency. If Blazer fans, who really value our picks, which I understand, remember that we gave 2 first-round picks up for Deni too.
Yeah.
And I think we're all happy we did that. If you're kind of like, I don't want to give a 2031 and the 11th for them, like,
it becomes
think about where we are with Deni right now and how happy we are we did that.
Yeah, that's where the scale tips, and I don't think it's like a great trade for us, just value-wise, but I still probably walk away. I'm like, okay, we got Trey Murphy. I'm happy with it. So that's trade number 1. Shaedon is gone. So now we made this trade and Shaedon's gone. This all has to happen in the next 2 weeks, so it's probably not going to get there. But say we made this trade, Shaedon is gone. Now we have Anthony and Scoot as the backcourt, right? And say you're basically Joe Cronin and you're like, let's give the reins all to Scoot. Where can we send Anthony that makes sense for us? The Utah Jazz, I think, are sneaky buyers for Anthony. And let me lay all of this out from their perspective first. So they just got through with this massive tanking season, right? And they came out of it. They got the 5th pick. They moved back as far as they could. And their owner, Ryan Smith, is like, what the hell was all of that for? That was stupid. This isn't how I operate life. Like, we look bad now. We're not going to get anyone good. And then they hired Austin Ainge, Danny Ainge's son.
Yes.
I think. Hire Austin Ainge as a new president of basketball operations. He comes out and says, we are not tanking anymore. That is not going to be the case.
We won't see that this year.
So now you look at the Jazz, you think, they have Lauri Markkanen for the next 4 years on a pretty big contract. They have some front court pieces in Walker Kessler, John Collins, and they have this kind of slew of all kind of mid to kind of bad guards. They have Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton. And it's like,
I love Collier. I think he's gonna be awesome.
I think he's gonna be good too. And in this trade they like him, but they look at the other ones and like they can't all be here, can't all work together. None of them really play that good at defense. What if they just consolidated all of them, or not all of them, but in this case 2 of them, and turned them into one much better guard in Anthony Simons?
Get the 11th pick.
This is kind of a pick swap here.
Sure.
They take Anthony Simons for 1 year. They have the money to extend him. So this is a scenario where they believe in Anthony as the lead guard, who's about the same age as Lauri Markkanen, to kind of run as a tandem and just kind of start building things up. They have a bunch of draft picks. They don't need to, get a bunch of extra resources. They can start to build up. And so basically they can take Jordan Clarkson's expiring, Keontae George's questionable contract because he scored a lot of points last year, but he was very, very inefficient while he did it. You can take the 2 of those. They add in Kyle Filipowski, which I'll get to in a second. And we'll even, to get this pulled off, swap them first-round picks if they want to move up. I think this is a good trade for both sides because we're getting 3 playable players and getting depth for Anthony. And these guys all fall into a bench role that works for us.
Yeah.
Keontae George falls right behind Scoot as the backup point guard. Jordan Clarkson falls right in at shooting guard, which if we just did the Trey Murphy trade would fall right behind Trey Murphy. If he did this trade on its own, he could fall right behind Shaedon as the bench option. So you've got 2 flamethrower scorers basically going with Jeremy and Matisse, and then backup center. I mean, that might be Klingon if Ayton's still on the team, right?
Yeah.
I really like the Filipowski pickup for us. I know you were a big fan of Filipowski before last draft.
I was.
He was a big fan of him.
And he's exactly what I thought he'd be.
He looked good. He looks like he can do it all. He can stretch pretty well. That says stretch big right here. Shot about 36% from 3 on a decent amount of attempts last year. So I think he's that backup big to Klingon, that stretch big that looked promising. I don't think they want to let go of him, so that's why I think this pick swap also is kind of needed for this. But to me, this is a trade that if the Jazz are willing to buy on Anthony, they can get rid of some loose pieces they have, consolidate them into one good player and let him go, and then build around Anthony and Lauri Markkanen and get the pieces that they need with their number 5 pick and their number 11 pick and all the draft picks they have coming, right? So I think that gives them something to kind of start from the ground up. And again, however much you think the Jazz should tank because they're not going to be good next year, they said they're not tanking. So this is one way for them to get better, and this is a good way for us to get depth for Anthony. And then now based on the past 2 trades, you've got Scoot as the lead guard with hopefully Trey Murphy. If not, it's Shaden. Deni too. I think in my head Klingon, but we'll get to Ayton in a second and how we can maybe get rid of him.
When I first looked at this trade, I got to be honest, because for our viewers out there, I'm seeing these trades for the first time. Jethro has been in the lab cooking these up, and I'm seeing them for the first time, which I love because I'm getting just wild joy from seeing these mocks because we've been seeing the same trades for Ant to Orlando over and over again. To see some new ones that actually somewhat make sense is awesome. When I first saw this, I thought, nah, I don't think so. I don't think it's a realistically trade option for either team. The more I look at it, the more I think about it, the more I am very, very much into it. If the Jazz want to find a way to not tank while still sucking enough to get a good draft pick, which is where I assume they want to be next year after this disaster of a year, I can't think of a better option than this. They get a guy who's still super young, who's still in Anthony. I still think he's super young, 25, 20. It was his birthday yesterday. Yeah. Happy birthday, Ant. He's 26. To have a guy who's still really young, who still has a lot of offensive potential, who's able to make a team, hopefully, like the Jazz, much less of a miserable watch next year while still being bad enough to get a high draft pick, getting rid of a huge contract in Jordan Clarkson, and still getting another lottery pick. You'd think the Jazz would actually love to do that. And I'm sure they like Filipowski and Keontae. I don't think they're in love with them. I don't think they really see either of them as complete staples to a future championship team. So we get rid of Ant. We still get a first-round pick. We hand the keys to Scoot, if that's what the Blazers want to do, which I personally don't yet. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine. While, like I said, getting rid of Jordan Clarkson's contract and still moving up to the lottery, it's a trade that makes sense for both teams. And let's not forget what Filipowski's last game in Portland was. He put up 30, 18, 5, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. And Keontae George, remember him getting fucking inferno at the end of that game against us?
Yeah.
He made like 3 threes in the last 15 seconds and like kept giving us heart attacks. Yeah, I think it's great. It gives us the bench scoring that we desperately need. And if it works out where Scoot is that guy and we have the stretch big that we need as a backup, we have got 2 guys who can hopefully score in bunches. And even if they can't, it doesn't even matter that much.
I mean, you just need one of them to be hot on any given night. And again,
exactly,
they would be playing with Jeremy and Matisse, who are good defenders. You might disagree on Jeremy. We don't, but good defenders. We also get more cap space from this move. The expiring still goes. This is a trade that doesn't hurt us at all financially. We don't have to take on a bad contract. We still have flexibility to pay free agents or extend guys if we need to. This is a trade that is safe for us, and it might not return the most value, but if Keontae George figures it out, Kyle Filipowski looks as good as he's looked, and we hit on number 21, I mean, come on.
I didn't realize. I thought Keontae George was so much better than he was just because of that one fourth quarter against Portland.
He just gets
he's been kind of trash.
Yeah, he's shooting under 40% from the field.
I know this might come as a surprise to some Blazer fans. Anthony Simons is a really good basketball player.
Most Blazer fans actually don't know that. It's weird.
Yeah, it seems like they don't. Even if you want him gone, which I'm not fully against. I'm not for it yet, but I'm not fully against it. He's a really good player that a team like the Jazz it'd be like the greatest breath of fresh air to have a guy who's actually good like Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons is an NBA player.
Yeah. All right. You ready for the last one?
Let's go crazy, dude. I love it because this is like my sickest, your deep, twisted thoughts that you don't share with anybody. My deep, twisted thought is, what if to get out of this 3-guard situation, we just trade all of them?
We got all of them. This
is what it is. I'm not saying I want to do this, but it is my beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy.
It has to all align. But again, I think all of these trades are okay to do on their own, except for this last one. This last one, we can't really do on its own. The other 2 trades pretty much have to happen for this one to get there.
I agree.
But
you are a sick, sick man. You are out of your goddamn mind.
Filthy.
You're losing it. You're losing your mind. Oh my God. That is so fucking funny.
I'll let you go first with the thoughts, and then I'll come in.
I mean this because, like I said, I've seen every trade. I look at mock trades all the time. I'm bored to death. You gave me 2 great ones. You've given me a third that actually has my jaw drop. This is fucking lunacy.
I have to shout out.
Let me say,
Utility Sports, again, let me just say, gave me the idea, but I tweaked it just a little bit for us.
Let me say this, and this, for some reason, isn't popular to say last year or so. I'm a ginormous LaMelo fan. I think the reason he looked, he put up 30 or whatever on horrible efficiency last year, but that team had one of the most insane run offenses I've ever seen, where they told the team fucking huck. And he did it. And honestly, he did it on a season, and this is where the only concern really comes in, LaMelo, is that he looked kind of hurt for most of the season, even the games he played. But he's what, 23?
He's going to be 24 at the start of the season. I think that's what I meant.
LaMelo Ball at his peak has the potential to be a top 5 point guard in the NBA. He's already an all-star. He's been an all-star. He has the size that if he decides to lock in, he could be an okay defender. He's a 6'7" point guard. If we put him as a point guard next to Toumani, Deni, Klingon, and let's say, Jeremy at the 4 still, that is an incredibly long and talented and capable team with an insanely high ceiling. His problem is injuries and the fact that he's not being in the position to succeed because he's just too immature to do that on his own. But I think in a position where he does have a coach that expects that out of him, I think he delivers. It gives us an absolute all-star of the future. It makes what seems to be our vision of being as long and talented as possible. We get the longest, most talented point guard in the NBA. We get rid of DA, which I think at this point all of our viewers know that we are very much in favor of. It brings Klingon back in the center position. My only concern with this, and obviously I haven't even talked about Scoot. Scoot is, for LaMelo, I think is a plus no matter what. That's my personal opinion. I really like LaMelo. Good situation, slightly healthier. He's an all-star. He's already proved that. Does this still work even with Shaedon being traded?
I'll show you guys. This is the end. This is all 4 of these. This is all 3 of these trades happening at once.
My God, dude. This is insane because these all make sense for every team. If the Hornets just decide they want to move past LaMelo, which it seems like they somewhat do, and I think they're really wrong for that. They get a guy they almost drafted already in Scoot.
I low-key got Dylan Harper going to the Hornets.
Ooh, at 4?
And I got Melo going to the Clips.
I could see them being dumb enough to think that Ayton has serious potential. They get 2 insanely great future picks with those Milwaukee swaps. It makes sense. Oh my God, these are the kind of trades you see in, you look for each team. You can make an argument for why it'd be bad for some teams, but you can't make a guaranteed argument. You can make an argument either way for all of these trades.
Like you said, the Hornets, and they don't do anything right. So in a sense, it's kind of like the Mavericks thing where you think they could do anything because you don't know. They're never doing anything right. So if Joe Cronin plays his cards right, we could do this or better, right?
It's not a bad trade for them. They get 3 really good picks, or at worst, 2 really, really good picks.
We're giving them
a high ceiling player, a high potential player in Scoot.
And I think DeAndre Ayton works for them a little bit because Mark Williams is always hurt. So at least they would get a guy who's mostly healthy all the time, and they would have a center at all times, which is something they haven't had. Moussa Diabate actually looked kind of good in some spots, but that's just not the guy you want, trying to work with developing your players. So, when you bring in, let's call it VJ Edgecombe, you have Brandon Miller coming back who needs to get reps after his injured season. Those 2, Miles Bridges, Mark Williams / DeAndre Ayton, and Scoot. That's your starting lineup. Plus you have the number 21 pick is what I'm trying to say this as, but let's call it 11 for now. You get another draft pick. They're in such a bad situation that they're not going to succeed right now with LaMelo. And they're better suited to give Brandon Miller a try and VJ Edgecombe a team that supports him. And LaMelo is hogging that point guard position, but that point guard position is all Scoots when he gets there. You get this, you've already got the 2 bad years of Scoot out of the way. You're going to get the pivotal 3rd year of Scoot ready to go with Brandon Miller, who he was drafted right next to go with VJ Edgecombe, to go with Mark Williams. It's a team that makes sense, and it's a team whose timeline fits a little better. I know LaMelo's not that old, but he's already expensive. You've already locked him up for 4 years. You can't do anything else. This way you get more flexibility. You have DeAndre Ayton's expiring, and look at these 2 Milwaukee swaps we're giving. Those things look unbelievable right now, especially because Giannis is staying, right? So we're giving premium assets, and we're taking Nurkic's contract. Nurkic can be the 3rd center on the team. He can be the feel-good come home story for 1 year and then we let him go and kind of run off into the distance. I think it makes a lot of sense for people if the Hornets GM is willing to move on from LaMelo, because LaMelo could come to us and be hurt like all year, and then look 100%. At how and Scoot could pop, and look at how this is a trade that could totally blow up in our face.
Yes,
but you look at who we get back, and this is what our depth chart looks like. If we do all of these trades, you have LaMelo, Trey, Deni, Toumani, Klingon, a backup of Keontae George, Matisse Thybulle at shooting guard. I didn't include Ryan. I had Ryan Rupert in the Jazz trade initially, but you can imagine he's buried down.
Did you spend hours coding this?
No, I don't know what this is. This is just.
Did you code this entire website?
No.
Just to show this, you could have just written out a sticky note.
Yeah. Keontae George, Matisse Thybulle, Chris Murray, Jeremy Grant, Filipowski as our backup bench. You've got Jordan Clarkson as another shooting guard. And, these guys as the 3 wings with Jeremy. 4 wings. Chris Murray can get a little bit of run. We even it out with you can bring in Banton back. You can bring Jabari back. You could use the mid-level exception still because look at this. All of these trades I just did, we freed up $11 million in cap space. We also hang on to Trey Murphy for 4 years. We hang on to LaMelo for 4 years. Deni's not going anywhere for 3. We extend Toumani this year, and the expiring that we get from Jordan Clarkson and Yusuf Nurkic will pay for that. This is a team that is going to cost as much as you're seeing for the next 4 years. It's not.
Can I tell you something?
It's not a team that's going to hamper us. We can bring in free agents. We can use the mid-level extension to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who would be beautiful on this team. This is a winning play to win right now and to be good later.
Can I tell you something? I think this is a masterpiece. I hate 99% of mock trades I see. I think everyone does. I hate 99, especially when it's like big, this is, I know it wouldn't be a 4-team, or maybe it would be, who knows? But we're showing them all what they would look like at once.
Yeah.
And every single time you see ones that look just like this, you see one team where it's like, why would they ever say yes to that? You have managed to find something that, let me get this out of the way. I don't think this is going to happen.
Well, yeah.
Right? It's a lot. I would bet 99% chance that this does not happen. 99.9% chance. However, for something as unrealistic as this is, you have found a way for it to make sense for every single team involved. This has me pumped. And it's kind of made me come to this realization that we talk so much, Blazer fans talk so much about how great Deni's contract is, how great Toumani's contract is. Like we said earlier, we're in maybe the rarest position in the NBA where our 2 best players and our 2 cornerstones to future great teams, in Toumani and Deni, have incredible contracts. I think because of that, we actually have a need to do something with that space
right now.
Because if not, because we'd love talking about how great those contracts are. Do you just love those contracts because they're not getting paid that much? You should love that because it gives us flexibility to make huge moves to add high contract players to our 2 best players. That is such a rare position to be in, and I think the Blazers truly owe it to the franchise to do something with those 2 amazing contracts on the team. Because if Toumani and Deni are paid like how they should be, it's not possible for us to do much. They're severely underpaid. And unless you just like the idea of us not paying them a lot, you should want to make big swings like this, even if it means trading guys like Shaedon, Simons, and Scoot.
And to piggyback on that, the reason why we can do all this is because credit to Joe Cronin and the team that they've set up these expiring contracts of Anthony, Ayton, Rob Will, Matisse as well, to come at a time when Scoot and Shaedon are kind of at their picking point, so that we have the flexibility to do it. If we Sharp's the guy, let's go. We can give him the money, bang, we're good to go. If Scoot's the guy, bang, give him the money, let's go. If they're not the guys, which is why they've been hanging on to Anthony, because everyone's fine with us losing, so why not just hang on till we know who's the one, right? If they're none of these 3 are the guys, then let's go trade him to someone else who will take him as the guys and bring in the new guy because we have the flexibility. If you guys like this, like this video up, share it everywhere, put it on Reddit, I'm going to put it on Twitter. I'm going to put it on, I just said an article wrote on the lead. Send it everywhere. Take my ideas. You don't even have to credit us. I don't care. Just go take this trade. Let's get it to Joe Cronin's eyes, and let's see if we can at least get him to do one of these. It would be kind of just a dream as a fan base, right? As a community here that the Blazers are a cool team. Got Joe Cronin to make a move that we all came up with, right? It's our idea. This came to me in a dream, but this is all because you guys have been watching us and you guys have been supporting us, and I've had the passion to want to do this, and you've supported and given us the platform to do it. So
that's 100%. You guys have us stoked.
Yep.
It's made. I couldn't imagine being a Blazer fan being more fun than it already is. I love being you guys have made it even more enjoyable, which I didn't even think was possible.
Well, we got 2 weeks till the draft. I mean, any pick that involves the 11th pick has to happen on draft night because of the Stepien rule. We can draft someone's player for them, but they will get traded. So
Stepien rule is that you can't trade your pick 2 years in a row?
Yeah, and because technically we don't have ownership of our next year pick because of the Bulls thing, we technically have
even
to
if
drafting.
It's outside the lottery? Or in the lottery?
If it becomes no, so we have our 2026 pick if we don't make the playoffs again, it's in the lottery. But at this moment in time, we don't know that. So we can't for sure trade our number 11 pick before draft night. So don't expect a lot to go down, but have your ears very, very perked up on draft night. And then after that, we'll see what happens. Just, I guess, an update to y'all. I will be going to Europe, so we will do a makeshift, less edited but reaction heavy video after draft night. No matter what happens, whoever we pick, whatever may go down, we'll give you our takes, and then after basically free agency dies down about a week later, we'll give you our big thoughts. So if you don't hear from us right away, just know it's because I'm out there. I'll get to my
international European adventure.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The Blazers are cool.
The Blazers are cool. And
Dude, the fact that we can even talk about these things and they're like somewhat possible. We're like the only team who have the flexibility to do that. The Blazers are cool.
The Blazers are cool, and they're going to get a lot cooler. People are going to remember how cool the Blazers are. Just that we're here.
They'll remember how cool the Blazers are.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Love y'all.
Yeah.
Go Blazers.
Go Blazers.